This is Corey,
And I'm Sharonda.
and this is Until
Until
Forever.
Forever.
It's a relationship podcast where we do not claim to be experts. We're not gurus or anything like that. We just want you to come along with us on our journey as we share our journey with you, and hopefully it'll help somebody out. If it doesn't, it don't. Hey, we not mad.
Okay.
But you can also help us out. Feel free to send your comments or messages or whatever. We will welcome any suggestions or anything like that. Just full disclaimer. Didn't want you thinking we think we know what we talking about here. All right.
Definitely.
Okay, so on episode 3, this is our third episode.
Wow.
Things are going well, I think. So hopefully you're liking and sharing. Um, do it. Do it right now. Do it, please. Do it. All right. Okay. So today, we're going to talk about the perfect relationship. The perfect relationship. What do you think? What do you think, honey?
Is there a perfect relationship?
Is there a perfect relationship? Man, this might be the one here. I think that everyone is searching for the feeling. You know, if you grew up watching Disney movies, you're waiting for the guy to show up and kiss you awake.
Okay.
You're waiting for the princess moments in life, and so that you can feel like if it's perfect. And I don't know, is it real? Does that really exist? What do you consider to be perfect in the relationship?
I mean, now or what did I consider to be perfect?
I want to hear both of them. I want to see if I
What?
I'll see where I measure up.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think I was heavily influenced, like you said, from television and books. So Disney movies, television shows like The Cosby Show and A Different World and My Wife and Kids, and you see these marriages and they work. They may not be extremely perfect, but they work. And so in my mind I thought, like, okay, this fairy tale relationship, this ideal relationship, this guy's gotta have all this stuff that I think he should have in order for the relationship to work with both of us. And then no arguments. I thought the perfect relationship was no arguments. And if you had arguments, then the relationship didn't work.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So, just to review, because I just, not that you sound crazy. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not saying you sound crazy, but I just want to point out the fact that Disney and media and sitcoms and movies, they had us out here looking weird.
How?
Because can you imagine watching Cinderella or I don't know, watching Boy Meets World and seeing Corey and Topanga's relationship, or oh my God, let's not get started on Urkel and Laura, because man, we binged that. Not too long
our
ago.
Kids, they liked it.
Yeah,
they
we
just
were
liked
watching it.
Steve Urkel being a clown.
Being the clown. And after watching it, it's like, wow, Laura is really a jerk. Like, she don't deserve Steve. And that's, I mean, if you're watching that and that is, something in your head that a relationship is supposed to be, then you think you're supposed to, creep in the girl window when she trying to sleep
That's
and I just want you to know I love you, girl. I love you. Like, what kind of mess is that?
Okay, but they did the same thing on Love and Basketball.
And,
they were neighbors, and they were going
started.
to tap on each other's windows.
Don't get me started on love and basketball. It's girls right now trying to try out for basketball because they watched Love and Basketball.
Oh, gosh.
Can't even dribble. They just saw Love and Basketball. She could play, though. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to do with her. I'm saying how it makes... How it looks to us. So imagine, back to what the point I was trying to...
Okay.
So imagine being a young girl, and those are your examples of relationships. Those are your examples, what you think
but
the
it could
perfect
also
relationship
be
is.
In the house. How many kids actually... I mean, nowadays it's probably really different. But back in the day, how many of us actually saw our parents arguing when we were younger?
You heard, it sounded like, well, it's different now. I don't know, maybe it's different. I don't know how y'all grew up. For me, it was different because it sounded like Charlie Brown. You know how the teacher on Charlie Brown? Yeah, wah, 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 wah. Like that's what I heard because the door was closed and we was supposed to be in our room. So if there was arguments, we didn't know.
You didn't know what it was about.
Exactly.
You just knew something was
We knew something
on.
Was up. Yeah, y'all
but
mad,
when
ain't y'all?
it was over, it was kind of like, oh, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My thought on that is just imagine being a child and you see all those different versions, and then you see what you're growing up with, and you know, in your head, like what is the perfect relationship? So like, let me ask you this: did you literally walk around as a teenager, a young adult, waiting for a sitcom or a Disney moment? I'm just asking. I want to know.
I guess you could say that. Okay, my senior year of high school, I had this internship downtown. And so I would be at school in the morning. And then it was like a class I was in. So I would be in school in the morning, and then a bunch of us, we would change our clothes into business attire and take the bus together downtown and go to work. But on the way home, everybody's going home. So everybody's taking different trains, different buses. So I would take the train and meet my dad. So I was taking the red line. I grew up in Chicago, everyone. So I was taking the red line. And there was this guy that would get on every day at the Roosevelt stop. I seriously think he might have been in college. But he would get on at the Roosevelt stop. And we would always have eye contact. But we never said anything to anybody. And then one day, he was like, hey, there's a seat here. Do you want to sit? And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to sit next to him. But then the conversation didn't go any further than that. Because in my mind, I was like this fairy tale thing. Like if he wanted to talk to me, then he would take the conversation further. And then it was like another opportunity where we had like small talk. But then in my mind, it was like, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. So I never discussed or tried to talk to him about anything else. Tried to get his number, nothing. That's probably the closest I got to like this ideal, like we met eyes, and could this be something bigger?
That's interesting. I have never heard this story. How did you look in the camera the way you look in his eyes? I want to see how you look.
What?
I want to know how y'all was looking at each other. How was y'all looking?
He was a cutie.
No, I didn't ask you how you look. I said how y'all look at each other.
I don't know.
You know.
I mean, that was almost 20 years ago. Anyway, but yes, I definitely kept a list of what I wanted out of a potential boyfriend / future husband. Yeah.
Okay.
I had some do's and don'ts for what I wanted, and it was based off of what I saw on television, basically.
Well, for me, growing up, the perfect relationship was my grandparents.
Oh.
And man, thinking back now, you know, Well, she might listen to it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want her to hear it. but honestly, it was my grandparents because I watched TV. All that. I was a big Urkel fan. I watched all the shows, Disney shows. I saw those relationships, but I kept them there because to us in my family, my grandfather and grandmother were larger than life. Like they were it. Like I felt like everything we did revolved around them and the church. So the church was so important, and then here is the head of the church I go to, my grandfather and my grandmother. So they, to me, everything they did was, the level of what everything should be.
Okay.
So watching their relationship in in my head, perfection when it comes to relationship is when everyone plays their role and they do what they're supposed to do. If Pawpaw wanted some peaches in the bowl with some little cottage cheese on it, he'd say, he called her name. He said, "Get in there, give me some peaches." In your head, you're thinking, "Man, that's harsh." But she'll get up and she'll do whatever he's asking her to do. That in return, he definitely took care of the house. He definitely made sure the bills were covered and everything was taken care of. So in my head, that was the perfect relationship. You have your alpha male and you have your submissive wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I said when I was younger.
How young?
I feel her looking at me.
I mean, how far into young adulthood did that idealism go?
Yesterday, I think.
What?
Is when it finally left. It was yesterday. No, I think when honestly, when I got married. I think
seriously?
when I got married.
You seriously thought that's what our marriage was going to be like?
No, I didn't think that. I thought that was marriage perfection. And not when we got married, but because I had several examples of what marriage is and isn't and should and shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
But even in when it comes to just having a relationship, I think it's more so along the lines, not so much of having a list of things that you do for your husband, but more so of this is the role that you play and this is the role that I play. And I think that's where, it boils down to understanding. And as I grew, that ideal of the perfect relationship evolved to everyone knowing their role, meaning understanding. There's an understanding. So there isn't like a perfect relationship diagram, but it's simply two people who have an understanding of what their relationship is and what the give and take is, what the level of that is, and what works for them.
Give an example.
Oh Lord. What's an example that ain't gonna get me beat up on my podcast? Let's see. Okay, so when we first got married, you were ready. You pretty much cooked every day. You don't cook every day now. But there's a level of understanding there. If I walked into it thinking a perfect marriage means the wife has a hot meal on the table for me every single night, then I would be very upset right now. But there's a level of understanding that says I have a wife that has her own business, who works a full-time job. We have 3 children. She's getting her master's degree. So that means she's in school while doing all of this stuff and got nerve to start a podcast. So with all of that stuff that's on your plate, I realize that I ain't going to get a fresh hot meal every night. And I'm not one. I'm different. I guess I'm not. I don't need that. I don't need to eat something different every night. I'm cool with leftovers, as long as I eat something. I'm good. And that ain't everybody. But for us, I guess that would be perfect, if that makes sense. Perfect is such a strong word.
I think it's over time, I've learned that it's basically what works for us. I'll say that because I definitely didn't think we were going to end up getting married based off of the things that we were experiencing in our relationship. Like, I didn't think that a good relationship would have to deal with lying. I didn't think a good relationship will have to deal with issues with family. And I didn't think that a good relationship would start out with financial issues. Not to say that we was like struggling, but I mean, neither one of us were well off. And so, but there are some people where those are things on their list. And if somebody doesn't have a degree, if somebody's not making a certain amount of money, if somebody is constantly having issues, or if somebody has kids, I mean, you already had a daughter. Some people don't want to deal with baby mama or baby daddy drama. And some people will walk away if there are issues with other family members, like parents, siblings, grandparents, like if everybody doesn't get along. And so I think it just depends on what matters to the two people in the relationship, and then what is considered not negotiable, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what word I'm looking for, you guys.
Compromise?
Yes. What are you willing to compromise? Mm-hmm. Because the people that we were 10 years ago have evolved into completely different people today. And so the things that bothered me 10 years ago don't bother me today because we've changed and we've matured and we've evolved into these different adults.
Wow. I would agree. I would agree with that. So I guess, thinking back on, could you imagine watching Sleeping Beauty and the prince come in and he's about to kiss her? Don't he kiss her to wake her up, or is that Snow White? Which one is that?
Well, that's both.
It's both. Wow, Disney. Wow, recycling stuff. But imagine that in Sleeping Beauty, the prince is in there and he about to kiss her and wake her up, and like a 4-year-old little boy running the room. What you finna do to my mama? Like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine that?
But his mama been asleep, like in a coma.
What you finna do to my mama? Like that's more realistic than, because I mean a lot of women have children.
Don't say women.
Well, I mean, of course, the guys, they ain't have them by themselves. Of course, the dudes, everybody ain't married out here. Of course, the dudes is having kids too, but it's more of a weight on the ladies because
that's a
9 times out of
episode.
10, the woman is the one who's caring for the child when they're not married. But I mean, to me now it's more, and I hate to call a child baggage, but when it comes to a fresh relationship where you're trying to get to know someone, it's definitely a hurdle. So to some people, that might not be perfect. They might, there may be guys out here that's like, hey, my perfect relationship, she can't have no kids, and she can't have no attachments or nothing like that. I'm gonna tell you from a male perspective, and fellas, if I'm wrong, by all means, it's a lot of pressure going into a relationship with someone new who has either, a child with somebody or who was in a long-term relationship with another guy, and that guy's still around. They may not be together, but he don't live far away, because that's like competition, and you want the freedom of just you and me. We finna grow this thing together, I think.
Okay, but It's 2021. I mean,
That's
what is the odds? It's very slim.
Yeah.
Of finding either a male or a female who doesn't have at least one child. At least one child. And here's the thing about that, if we're going to talk about that part, is that are you more skeptical of dating someone who has a child that has a good relationship with their child's parent or has issues with their child's parent?
That's good. That's real good. We may need to save that.
I feel like that's like a whole nother episode.
That's another podcast. Well, we will address that. I like that. You all feel free to comment on that though. But look, I want to know what you think a perfect relationship is. I would love to hear you guys' perspective on it, and not just within a marriage, but even in approaching a serious relationship or meeting someone that you would like to get serious with. What do you consider the perfect setup to enter into that relationship? But I want to ask you, should you end a relationship that isn't perfect?
What do you mean? Like, clearly there can be red flags about something that might be a trigger. I know that's a word that a lot of people use nowadays, but when I say it, I mean like triggering something that might have been traumatic for you, something you might have witnessed in a relationship from your parents or family members, or even a past relationship you have had. So if you're experiencing something in a relationship and it seems to be a trigger for something that could be an issue, then yes, get out of it if you're not going to address it through counseling or something like that, if you're not willing to put in the work. But if it's little petty stuff like, I'm trying to think of example without making it somebody else's personal example. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, if it's little petty stuff like, oh, she's always going out with her friends, and she doesn't tell me where she's going or where they're going when she goes out with her friends. Like, that's petty. Y'all not married, so why does she have to give you every single step of her schedule?
So marriage means you have to give every single step.
I mean, what if you die?
Whoa. Man, that escalated quick.
But that's like the other night when you went to go get some Tylenol.
Don't be putting my business out.
I'm gonna put your business out there.
I ain't get Tylenol.
What'd you get?
I got some ibuprofen.
Excuse me.
Because I still have
a toothache.
A toothache.
Okay.
I had to get
Bottom line is,
have y'all ever had a toothache?
Excuse me.
You ain't finna put me out there like I just left the house just to be leaving.
You did. He left out like he was taking the trash out. No. And then our youngest child, Caitlin, was walking around, where's daddy? Where's daddy? And I was like, I don't know. So then I got up and I was like, go find him. And she was like, I don't see him. So I pulled up the Ring camera because I was like, well, I heard him go outside. And we have Ring. And I see the van pull off.
Lord, by that time I was probably back. I wasn't gone but 2 minutes.
And I said, oh, he left without telling me he was leaving.
Oh my goodness, Lord have mercy.
So, yes, if you're married, and in this day and age where anything can happen when you leave the house, yes, I think you should be held accountable for wherever your location is going to be.
I agree.
But I'm just saying, bottom line is, if you think the relationship is not perfect because you keep finding little particular things that are wrong, then I think you're just looking for reasons not to be in a committed relationship. That's just my personal opinion.
I guess it boils down to communication and understanding on, are you and your potential partner on the same page?
Yes.
And if you're not on the same page, either get on the same page or respectfully go your separate ways,
Basically.
so that you can do what you want to do. I mean, it's there. I can't imagine how many people are together right now just wasting time because it'd be too much of a hassle to separate.
Oh,
Or too much of a hassle
to start
walk away.
over.
Oh God, starting over. I couldn't imagine. By the way, I just want to add, if you've never had a toothache before, I need to say it. I feel like I need to say it. You don't want to talk to
Oh,
nobody. You don't
gosh.
want to explain yourself. You need to take care of this. And I was laying there in pain, and she knew something was
He
wrong
was
with me.
playing PlayStation.
She knew something. I was to take my mind off the pain, and I was laying in the bed in awkward
You did
positions.
not lay in the bed.
I did. I laid across the foot of the bed because it was just throbbing. And I said, you know what? I gotta go to Walgreens, and I couldn't talk because it was hurting. So anyway, I just wanted to explain myself.
Okay, so back to perfect relationships.
I need to apologize. I'm sorry,
Thank you.
but I didn't feel like talking.
Mm-hmm. Perfect relationships. So, I don't know. I can't remember what I was gonna say.
So you shouldn't end it if it's worth holding on to. And I think you know by now, if you're in a relationship, you should know if it's something that's worth holding on to. And of course, if you're willing to fight and the other person isn't, don't waste your time.
Basically.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
Oh, I know. I was gonna say, I was thinking of petty things that you could say is not perfect, like weight, like somebody's health or weight, or someone's financial status.
I don't know about that weight one.
What?
I hear you.
Really?
I hear you.
You can hear me, but I need to understand, like,
Okay.
what are you saying?
Okay.
Remember on Why Did I Get Married? When Sheila went up the mountain to save her marriage and she ended up with the sheriff. And then when they got together at the end, because Janet Jackson's character was getting some type of award or something, and the sheriff helped her lose some weight.
Okay.
Because he cared about her.
Okay. That's why I said I don't know, because that's awesome, because and the sheriff also made sure that she knew Jilly from Philly, who is amazing.
Jill Scott.
Oh, she's so fine. But anyway, who I digress.
Oh
but
my gosh.
But she also made sure, he made sure that she knew that he loved her regardless
Of her size.
of her size. So that's my thing was, it's not a petty issue, because attraction is a major part of your relationship. And if your spouse or your partner or whatever is getting super overweight and you're not attracted to them anymore, then you all need to address that, and in a loving way, and you need to help them. That's all I'm saying. You said it was
Why
petty.
would somebody be in a relationship with someone if they didn't have an attraction to them?
No, the attraction was there, and there is an attraction, and there you go, because there's an emotional attraction, and then there's a physical attraction.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're already in a relationship with someone,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like newlyweds. Have you ever seen how they talk about, like, newlyweds gain weight sometimes because you eating good, or Corey definitely gained weight, like, during my pregnancies, because
Whole
every
bunch.
time I was eating, he was eating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, how many couples do we know where both people are, like, kind of cheering each other on with their health goals?
And
it's
that's
not
awesome.
just about the weight, but it's about, blood pressure being good, cholesterol being good,
Absolutely.
your mental health being good. And so what I'm saying is, for you to be like, oh, I don't want any parts of him because he needs to drop like 50 pounds.
That ain't what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying.
That's what I was saying.
No. Now that's extremely petty, and anybody who would divorce someone or walk out of a relationship with someone that you truly love and care about because of their weight is wrong. That's absolutely wrong. But if you're in that relationship and weight is an issue for one or the other or both, then there should be a conversation, a loving conversation, and you should work on it together. That's all I'm saying. When you brought it up like, let me think of something petty that y'all.
I said I was trying to think of something else petty that somebody would be like, I'm done with them.
Yeah, that's what I ain't saying. Could you imagine that? Get on the scale. You're 2 pounds over. I'm packing my bags.
No. Okay, but there are some people where, like, you excited about your relationship. You all go out to eat a lot. You probably do a lot of Netflix and chilling a lot. And so it probably needs to turn more into, like, let's go play tennis together or let's go on a hike together type of dates.
Amazon Prime and climb.
What?
That's the workout.
Okay.
You watch Amazon Prime. And
it sounded kind of nasty at first.
Oh, it did, didn't it?
It did.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, though. Like, order your gear and go hiking. Is that what you're saying?
No, because you can watch the videos on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So you could watch a movie, but then plan a climb or something after.
Nope. Okay. Anywho.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
The climb part sounds nasty.
Climbing don't sound nasty.
It sounds like you're referencing something.
Is her mind in the gutter or is climbing now? Okay, we over our time. You trying to get nasty on the podcast. You know what I mean? Amazon Prime and Hulu and I can't think of them.
Exactly.
Y'all come up with some
No.
We could be helping couples doing that.
Oh my God.
Disney Plus. And don't cuss, because you saved. All right, y'all. You know what to do. Tell them what to do.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Everything is at Until Forever Podcast. If you like this episode, share it on your timeline or with some friends. And don't forget to rate us if you're listening to us on a podcast hosting platform.
All right. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Next week.